When I was about 22 or 23, my mother purchased a Ouija board game. To start with, my mother, my younger sister, and I began playing with it. The spirits were all friendly and it was enjoyable. After a week or so, my younger brother started using it with us. One day the messages were becoming unpleasant. I don't exactly remember how or when, but at one point the board foretold my sister's death. We started hearing things and experiencing cold and even freezing areas in the house. We, my sister and I, went to the local church and the priest told us to burn the board, which we did. My brother, in the meantime, unknown to us, had made his own Ouija board using paper and a coin. He is 7 years younger and he didn't really understand the consequences. One night I came home at about 2 a.m. after being out. I always crept inside so as not to wake my mother. I opened the door quietly and went inside. I put my bag down and after locking the door, turned around. My brother was standing there, watching me. His face wasn't seen, but the outline of his hair across his face and his white t-shirt could be seen, lit up a faint blue by the moonlight, but there was no face. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just said his name and I told him to, quote, "Go back to bed or you'll wake Grandma and I'll get in trouble." So he turned around and went back to bed, or so I thought. I then turned around to pick up my bag on the floor. I decided I'd flick his bedroom light on to annoy him on my way to bed, so as I passed, I flicked the switch on. He wasn't there. His room was empty. I was so shocked, I actually woke my mother up saying, "Where's B?" She called back. "He's at his friend's house for the night. He's not home." Hello one and all, this is from the Fringe and I'm Chris. I thought I'd read you that story there because it's a bit of a reminder of last video's topic, which was ghost mimics and tulpas. This idea that a mind, whether it be incarnate or discarnate, can create a form which actually slowly becomes its own entity and it actually can become physical. So the reason why I wanted to remind you about that is because today I want to move into this idea of manifestations, as in magical manifestations. I've got this video here. I'll just play some highlights and talk about it in a second. Okay, so this is Grant Morrison. He is a very talented comic book artist from Scotland. And one day he was working on a project called The Invisibles, and something really quite profound happened to him.
So I wrote this comic book, and as I wrote it, it became true. Things I would make the characters do became true. The main character was, I gave him a bald head and a leather jacket because I thought people would like me when they read the comic. And bald heads were really uncool back in 1992. And it worked. I found that if I put the character through a situation where he was being tortured, where his lungs had burst and he was being held in captivity and subjected to all these awful things, 3 months later I'm in hospital, 2 burst lungs, dying of blood poisoning and facing exactly the same shamanic trial that I put my character through. So once I figured out that, I thought, well, the best thing to do is give this guy an easy time in the future. So as a result of all this, I just split up with my girlfriend and I said, okay, I want a new one and I want it to look exactly like this chick in the comic, because she's cool, you know. So I did a sigil. A month later, the girl turns up. Then another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. All aspects of this character, and I realised, oh fuck, this is insane. Because it works, and I've done something ridiculous, because now I'm dealing with all these women who look like the character, but I don't get on with, or I can't talk to, or I can't deal with. And I began to realise a little bit about how this stuff works.
Do you remember the story about the Tibetan artist from the last video? He created that tulpa of a fierce Tibetan deity. Well, this guy is an artist as well, so there has to be some connection there. Something to do perhaps with the intense concentration that an artist needs to create their characters. And somehow this affects maybe reality itself. I'm actually really interested in this subject. It's something I've been chasing for pretty much all of my life. I don't want to talk about it too much here because I'll just start waffling on and it'll get very boring. Now, when I say that I've had an interest in this for a long time, I haven't had an interest in magical manifestations. My interest has been in the question, what is reality? And sometimes you move into these sort of subjects and the paranormal. It's more so philosophical sort of questions, but that's part of the reason why I'm interested in this, all this crazy paranormal stuff, because, you know, there could be some answers here, and these tulpas and this magical manifestation idea could be related to reality itself. So, there you go. Hey, I thought I'd better come back and finish this video. What I was saying just before, about a week ago, as far as magical manifestations and reality go, what I think I was trying to get at was, what I believe is that reality itself is the manifestation of mind. So I think we do it subconsciously. There's a lot to it, and like I said before, if I get into it here, I will just waffle on. You will be bored. So I won't drone on about it. And I'll just move on to the next subject, actually, which is this. So this fella, Kai Muger, he's a German physical medium. And what you're seeing is him manifesting some jewels from his eyes, some gemstones. Can you see that bulge there that just formed under his eye? If you just keep watching here, you'll start to see a couple of little gemstones pop out from underneath his eyelids. He's got to use his fingers to help manipulate these gems from inside his eyeball there. Well, his eyelid. I know it's very bad quality, and I apologize once again. All of these videos seem to be pretty poor quality. Yeah, there you can see it's getting squeezed out from under his eyelid there on the left. You can see the one at the bottom right there, it's already popped out of his left eye, or our right. But there, look at that. So it's not a small gem. I mean, it is small, but it's in the eyeball. Now, I'm sure somebody out there is going to say this can be faked, and I don't doubt you. But how uncomfortable would it be to put a stone in your eye socket? Is it even possible? Surely there's muscles and nerves and that sort of thing that would get damaged, and the pressure on the eyeball itself, the risk of tearing open that eyeball, I mean, geez. Here I found this clearer vision of Kai Muger apparently manifesting gems from his eyes. This video is in slow motion, it's a lot clearer. And you can see he's got multiple stones coming out from under his eyelids there, but there's no tears. His eyes look a little bit red, but there's no tears. Anybody else's eyes watering? So this Kai Muger fella, he claims to be able to apport these gems, not just through his eyes. There's other footage of him blowing out literally hundreds of gems of various sizes. Correction, the medium I was thinking of was this guy, Michael Shane. You can see him coughing up a few gems here, some big ones too. Have a look at this big sucker. Come on, Michael. Give him a hit on the back or something. You'd probably kill him.
Okay.
And there we go.
Wow. Goodness.
Beautiful.
So obviously this could just be your simple, well, simple is probably not the right word, but regurgitation, which is kind of impressive in itself, I guess. But whether this is of spiritual origin or not, I'm not really convinced. Not by the video itself, anyway. I'd have to be there. Okay, so now getting back to Kai Muga, the eyeball guy. And like I said earlier, he can probably be disproved, and he has been caught out. And as a matter of fact, he's admitted to some fraud. He got caught with a magician's light. It was this thing attached to his thumb on a really thin wire, and then at the end there's a light emitting diode. And yeah, he'd fly that around the room as a spirit light. But it's not the first time people with paranormal powers or experiences have faked it. Like I said in my last video, there's this tendency for people to actively fake the phenomena once it's begun, and I think it's just to try to please the audience, because they're starting to charge people to turn up to these seances and stuff. And so once upon a time they may have been able to produce the phenomena, you know, at will, but maybe they've lost that ability, and so not to disappoint the audience, they decide to fake it. Whether it's, well, it's obviously it's wrong, because it discredits them, and it's you're ripping off, you know, you're paying audience. But I want to go further with apports, because it is also one of my favorite subjects. I've got so many in the paranormal sort of genre. But apports are pretty cool. And one of my favorite cases is the skull experiment. So let's have a quick look-see.
Objects do not just appear out of thin air, but this is exactly what numerous visitors to Skull reported. People would see and especially hear these objects apparently materialize out of nowhere and then fall onto the floor or the table.
In the language of physical mediumship, these objects are called apports.
An apport is an object which is quite solid, which is brought from one location to another during an experimental session, but in so doing, and this can be from many miles distant, apparently passes through solid walls, doors, etc. Well, the total number of apports that we had during the experimental sessions was about 80 or even more.
So apparently these apports not only move from location to location, but they can be moved from the past to the present as well. I haven't heard of any coming from the future, but, you know, who knows? So clearly apports are different to the tulpas, and they're different again to the manifestation that chaos magic talks about, which is basically the manipulation of reality itself manifesting. I had a point. Give me a second.
Yes, the space people refer to me as mental channel number 1.
Nope, I cannot think of it. I'm even more distracted than usual today. So I think I might leave it there. It's been fun, I guess. But before I go, a few days ago, there was a viewer who left his own personal experience with a doppelganger. And so as I go out, I might put on some mood music. Keep wanting to say mood. nude music, and mood music. I saw my doppelganger when I was maybe 10 years old. I was at Kmart with my mother and was walking around by myself. I looked to my left, and here comes me. I kept staring at him and somehow convinced myself someone has a full-body mirror and I'm just seeing my reflection. He's wearing my exact same clothing, so you can see why I thought maybe it was a mirror. I realised it's not my reflection when I noticed he's walking and I am not. The kid brain doesn't work as fast as the adult brain. That's when I noticed he's smiling, like he's getting a kick out of how much he looks like me. He's making direct eye contact. There's no mistaking it. He's laughing at me. At about this moment, he's right up on me, so I step out of his way and he walks past me. I remember leaving the toy aisle and finding my mother because it was just all too creepy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will be seeing you next time. Hopefully next week.